Hey, this week we talked about being under the influence, and there's all kinds of things we're under the influence of. But when we're under the influence of Jesus, it's because we have willingly placed ourselves under his influence. So we talked about the whole concept of discipleship, of being a disciple of Christ. Remember that mathetes word in the Greek means to be a student or a pupil or an apprentice of Jesus, someone who's learning under a rabbi or master. That's what we're doing. When we're following him, we are coming under his influence. And that's what happened in the first century. Jesus wasn't the only rabbi. There were lots of rabbis, and they had disciples, individuals who came under the influence of a teacher. Why? So they could learn from them, so they could become like them. Jesus said in Luke chapter 6, verse 40, he said, "The student is not above his teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like his teacher." So we're saying that in this pursuit of these new habits, these new practices that Jesus practiced, when we come under his influence and we start doing these things, we will become like him. Jesus' statement, everyone who's fully trained will be like his teacher. That's the purpose of following Jesus. Isn't just to slip into heaven someday because I got forgiven. I'm forgiven because of what Jesus did on the cross, but what Jesus did in his life is the lifestyle he wants me to follow. So our new practices, this trellis and these new habits are all about what does it look like to follow Jesus, to know Jesus, to practice his presence, to emulate his character. When that's happening, things start changing in my life exponentially, and you're invited to that. So Jesus wants to move in us so we will move for him. When Jesus was baptized, it's a beautiful picture. And if you have not been baptized, I want to invite you, because we're inviting those that have not yet made a commitment to Christ to come and keep exploring and investigating with us, because there is something life-changing to be discovered in Jesus. We're inviting those that have kind of been on the fence or kind of strayed away from God or been distracted by other things. Come back and pick up the book and read it and start practicing these things, because how you navigate your daily life is how you live out the life of Christ in you. So if you're not navigating that with him in mind, you're going in a direction probably counter to Jesus. So as we navigate our life following Jesus, we start discovering him more. So everything Jesus did was a model for us. Christmas Eve, we talked about the birth of Christ, and we talked about Joseph's story. That was in Matthew chapter 1. Then in by the time we get to Matthew chapter 3, we're looking at Jesus being baptized. And up to that point, Jesus had done nothing. He had done nothing except for, when he was 12 years old. We have a little snippet from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, where Jesus goes to the temple and he amazes the leaders in the temple. But then for the next 17 years, we don't hear anything else. More than that, 15, 18 years, we don't hear anything about Jesus until he's 30 years old. And then he comes in this public ministry and he's baptized in Matthew chapter 3. What is that? Matthew 3:16. And Jesus beautifully is baptized. And it says, the heavens parted and a voice from the heavens said, "This is my son, in whom I love. With him I am well pleased." That is incredible. What that tells us is that Jesus at his baptism, having done nothing to earn the Father's favor, having done nothing to show he was worthy, having done nothing to prove he was the Son of God, no miracles, no sermons, no miraculous signs, nothing, the Father announces, "You're my son, and I am well pleased." You see, what Jesus did was, for us, show us a picture of coming under the influence of the Father's love. You undoubtedly know what it's like to try to live or try to get under the affection or love of another. Most of us approach life kind of that way, that we're trying to find someone who will love us rather than come under the Father's love. I tell you what, it's grueling to live in a world where you wonder, am I loved? Am I loved for who I really am? Or if they knew who I really was, would they reject me? Most of us, I think, in some point in our lives have wrestled with that fear, which creates anxiety and stress. But Jesus shows us that in baptism we are immersed in a sense of God's love, because our baptism represents there's nothing I can do to save myself. It's what Jesus has done for me. I'm immersed and saying, my old life is gone, my new life has come. But this baptism says and announces, I'm loved just as I am. I'm loved just as I am. There's nothing I can do to earn the Father's love. He already loves me. When you learn to live under His love, you can stop striving for everybody else's love. I don't know where you are, but if you're striving for others to love you, if you're trying to perform your way to acceptance, if you're trying to get the approval of the people around you, that will be an influence that will exhaust you. But when you come under the influence of the Father's love, nothing can separate us from that love. Neither height nor depth, angels nor demons, neither the present, the future, or the past. When we come under the influence of His love, all of a sudden we know we are His. We are children of God because He's lavished His love upon us. Lord Jesus, we want to come under Your love, to live in that space and place where we do not doubt what You've done for us, but we celebrate it. We die to the old. We raise to the new. New children, new lives, new creations made to reflect who You are. I will see you tomorrow.